This is Imrana Ali coming to you from Urban Living. Today's guest is Mrs. Michelle Miles. She's a retired law enforcement officer working in corrections. Thank you for being here today, Mrs. Miles. How are you?
I'm good.
Yes, so I always like to start off with asking people what they're working on currently. Uh, what are
Well,
some of your current
right,
projects?
okay, retired, working with seniors, um, helping them with daily living, grocery store shopping, medication, sitting with them just for companionship. Um, I'm also on the board with Tyrone Reed and a few other staff members who has launched this workshop for seniors, and it's called Seniors for a Better North Philadelphia. So they try to do programs with them. One is going to the movies once a month
Mm.
at Broad and Oxford, which is really, really good. And then lunch is included. I think it's like an $18 fee. And then anytime someone calls me who knows me and they need some help with anything, I just try to be there. I also I like to talk, always did since a kid. And you know that because we grew up together.
Mm-hmm.
I, for 2 years, I did I want to say, an encouragement of somewhat. My cousin called it encouraging ministries. I felt compelled to go on Facebook every Tuesday at 10 o'clock to just build people up through my spiritual words, and it was called story time. I would do a story, somewhat of someone in the Bible, whether it was Rachel, Joseph, Rahab, David, whomever, Moses, of those characters, because they were real people, and then coincidentally, a story in relations of someone such as myself, yourself, who is going through that same kind of struggle or troubling, like, um, there's a saying, women say, I need to find me a Boaz. That's relating to Ruth and Boaz, okay? Of course, you know the story. Um, Also, the teens today, in this world that we're living with so much chaos, and it's on the internet, it's politics, it's in your home, it's just all over. So I just recently went back onto Storytime on Tuesdays. And not 10 o'clock per se, because I'm so busy and always all over the place. So I came up with a time frame anywhere between 10 and 11. Well, last week I did a story,
Mm-hmm.
and my story was guarding your heart. Because out of our heart comes whatever we speak out of our mouth,
Mm-hmm.
but it all starts up here. So seeing what's going on in our beautiful city of brotherly love, because I always, when I pray, I pray for our city first, of our beautiful city of brotherly love, and beyond, because it's global. Everything that's happening, the chaos, the children's with the guns and the shootings and schools and just all over, all the mayhem, it's global. So I pray for global peace and harmony.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I am. So I just want to say, last week I did a story. It was called Guard Your Heart because of your mouth. I was compelled to do it because the profanities and the way the children are acting out from school, in school, with their parents, without their parents. I was in a store, a Wawa this time, and there was a young mother and her mother in there with a little girl, approximately 9 years old, reminding me of my twin granddaughters, uniform on, and the whole nine. So the little girl had an item in her hand that she had gotten from, while I'm at the kiosk, and I guess her mother was about to order too. And as soon as they stood within maybe 2 feet from me, the little girl asked her mother, could she get, I guess, another item? And the mother just went on with the F bomb, and that breaks my heart and my soul, because we don't have to talk to our children like that. That thing is heart wrenching. Everything was no, and And ladies, if you're listening, because somebody needs to hear it, it just doesn't sound right when your child says the three words that every kid, including myself, including you, every kid who has gone into a store with the parent or guardian, the first thing they say, first three words is, can I have? You do not have to say, fuck no, I told you not to ask me no effing more and blah, 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 blah. You know, everything was that
Violent,
it was it
aggressive,
was just bad. It was
overly.
terrible. It was the Charles Barkley terrible. Like he said, it's terrible. It was terrible because the little
Just a
girl
little
just
girl.
asked for something in her face, and her mother went on. I told you don't effing ask me for anything. I should have left you to eff at home. You do this every effing time that we come out. That's why I don't like to take you to effing where. The little girl put her head down. She looked at me first, eye contact. I felt so sorry. I wanted to kneel down to her level and give her a hug. She was embarrassed. Okay, that's number one. They're embarrassed. She walks a few feet over to where her grandmother was. And her grandmother looked and said the same thing. I don't know why the F you always do that to your effing mother when you, and I'm thinking the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. We have to do something about that. We have to like reach out to these young women. I'm talking young mothers, 20s, 30s, and 40s. I see them in the supermarkets. They're all over. And when they're out in public, it's embarrassing. They don't think it's embarrassing. They made it norm. We cannot normalize such things like that.
Exactly.
You know, so
Yeah.
what's your take on that?
Well, I had to confide in you a story that my mother told me about me while she was bringing me up. Because she said that, because my dad was pretty heavy-handed, and she had went over, I don't know if you know, but she had went over to Germany. She had packed, she was living in the projects. And when she met my dad, she sold everything that she had and went off with him to go to Germany. And then she went to Germany with him. My dad said they could see the Swiss Alps from his apartment. So basically, she went far away from home with this. And my dad was a man's man. I mean, he's like a bodybuilder type and very aggressive, and a lot of temperament and intellectual. It's the whole 9 yards. So to make a long story short, um, they were both pretty temperamental and combative between the two of them. So that they broke up because of it.
Yes.
And it was so bad that I'm telling you what she told me for it. It was so bad that she was scared to leave me with him. And but she said, against her better judgment, she left me with him. And then many years later, I got the same story from him. Right, my mother had passed away,
Amazing.
but she said she left him with me. She left me with him, scared to death. Is he going to beat the baby to death, roll over him, crib death or something? But came back, everything was fine. So at least they got over that hurdle together. So my mother passed away, and many years later, I asked my dad the same. So he said that I was, he had me. I don't know if my mother. I don't know why he told me the story, but the exact same story. He said that I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, and he would not pick me up. He he said, and I cried and cried. And he said after so many hours or minutes, I finally settled down. I wanted somebody to pick me up. I was spoiled. So, and he said eventually my little cry went to a whimper. But I said all that. I said all that to say that one time my mom gave me a beating. She didn't give me a beating often, but one time I gave me a beating, and I had a lot of temperament. So I've actually fought my mom, and I fought and I wiggled, and I mean I'm fighting her. I know you don't see Miss Carol as this. That's what I'm saying. Don't hold on before you go to Miss Carol defense, because Miss Carol ain't here. Don't make up anything. But so I'm fighting. I'm fighting and fighting, and then and then I'm crying and screaming, and then so she left, and then when she left out the door, I was cursing,
Yeah.
you're like the bad seed. So then she said, I'm not going to ever whip you again. She never whipped me again.
Wow.
After that, I think I got one, one or two, but she never. Then I always wondered. So one day she told me, she said, because your dad was hard on you and I was hard on you too, meaning that she had she knows she was a little bit too heavy-handed, and so I say that not to defend those young women, but parenting everybody doesn't get it the first time.
You don't have to get it
You
the
know, I
first
mean,
time.
I was lucky. I mean, she's decided that. You understand what I'm saying? Parents can be. I mean, it's not good. I mean, it's a difficult job.
I get that
Okay.
part.
Yeah.
You do the best you can.
Yeah.
And most of us do. If you were raised by your grandmother, you're going to raise your kids like your grandmother. However, no kid deserve to be talked to like that all day, from the time they wake up in the morning to prepare themselves for school, because a lot of that is going on with children. When our parents prepared our stuff and I prepared my kids foods, breakfast, lunch, and I'm doing that now for my grandchildren if they're there the night before they go to school. It's not right.
They're violent. They're violent towards their own
And
children.
then you wonder why the children grow up and act the way they act. There's a school at 7th and Poplar in my neighborhood, the scholarship school or something. Very good school. Those kids are terrible when they come out. The profanity, the fighting, the cussing, it's awful. And to see this story just happening yesterday in the news with that senior citizen man who is 60-something years old, that those kids kicked off of a SEPTA bus, it's incomprehensible. Parents are going to have to be accountable for their children.
Yeah.
That's my take on it.
Okay.
That's what I believe
that's
needs to
good.
happen.
Yeah.
Because
I think they are.
you should know if your 14-year-old son is out at 1:30 in the morning with his 15-year-old brother and your 19-year-old son also. All three of your sons are out causing mayhem, breaking into people's cars and all those sorts of things. Yes, I think parents should be responsible.
I don't have any research on it. I'll follow up on it some other time. But I have
Do it.
heard.
We'll follow up on this story for sure.
Yeah, I've heard of incidents where a parent was charged for the misconduct of their child, but I don't know how egregious the offense has to be before.
Just recently, last week, I think it's over in Jersey. It's recent. They're charging the parents because the kids were out and they were breaking in people's homes in the suburbs of somewhere in New Jersey, and they're making the parents be accountable. And my thing is, you kids are living in such a different world than us, number one. Of course, with the technologies, the phones and computer and all that. But cameras are everywhere. It's unbelievable. We weren't even scared because of a camera looking at us. We were just fearful of just a grown-up seeing us act out and going to tell our parents. So, but my point is, with that story, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. So this little girl in that store was with her mother and her grandmother. So if her grandmother is going to cuss her out just like the mother did, and the little girl went to her for some kind of consolence, like, come on, grandmom. Like, you should have been the mother to say to your daughter, don't talk to her like that out in public. It sounds horrible. My twin granddaughters, I have two blessings that I take to the market. And they're, Gramps, can I get this? Gramps, can I have? I'm not going to say, no, didn't I effing tell you? No. I just say, nope, we're not getting that. I'm pushing the cart. Nope, we're not getting that. Nope. Or I might say, when we get into the store, you can get one thing. And that's fine. I'm never going to do that because it becomes hereditary and it becomes normal. Like I said, they've normalized it. It's like
my mother wouldn't take me to the store. She never. I showed out so much when she went grocery shopping. I never went.
Oh, you were a spoiled brat.
Yeah,
you were embarrassing your mother. That's what you did.
I think that wiser heads prevailed with my parents. That they, were able to pull back on, and learn parenting skills, and the issue never.
Well,
came
the older
up
we
again.
get, the wiser we're supposed to become.
If that's what we're trying to do, but you're touching on something. You're talking about. I hear a lot of things coming through what you're saying. I've talked to other ladies about our community, and the few people that I've talked to seem to think that we are basically becoming more violent as a society. we're being a lot more rude
Very.
to each other, and it's kind of it's very alarming. And the horses are out the gate now. It's damage control. How can you legislate or impose those type of mores? I mean, the type of violence is really it's pretty.
Like
It's
where
over the
like
top.
the song says, where's the love?
Hmm.
Love has exited and hate has come in. And it's just it's horrible. Everybody's aggressive driving, and that's all over. That's not just in the city of brotherly love. I've been traveling to a few states. It's like all over. Like, and what is the rush? So they invented the microwave some years ago, and everything is rush, rush. I want it right now, right now, right now.
Where's the violence
You,
coming from? I can only take a couple of guesses, but I really have
it's
no idea.
stemming from a lot of things.
For instance,
For instance, the kid that thinks he or she has less than the other student in the classroom.
poverty. Yeah.
Poverty. The kid that thinks, because in actuality, in real life, real time,
They probably have the same.
you got more. You're probably more intelligent. Okay, you're probably getting more A's and B's than that kid that's acting out, that's coming into school with the $200 sneaks on and acting like a class clown, as they would call it when we were coming up. Okay, now it's insane. But for the behavior that these young children are doing now, we can't accept that. We can't accept them beating up a senior on SEPTA, and then when the senior gets to get off the bus, they go behind him or her and kicks him off the bus like that. This guy is in the news just this week. He wants those kids to be accountable. He's on television asking he's asking law enforcement to find these kids because they can, and make them pay for what they did for
another
him.
thing is
to him.
that the children they need some type of activity that's.
They have plenty of activities. There are so many activities out here. That is a bunch. Now that I don't agree with. They still have Boys and Girls Clubs. They have YMCA's. They have a lot of men, young men, older, in their 40s and 50s and 60s, who have programs all over this city to help these children so that they can be active in sports or whatever it is to keep them from being so violent. But you have to know about those resources. You have to go and find them. That's why we have the state representatives and city council men and women to go and seek. You go to their office and you tell them, look, I need help with my 13-year-old kid because I don't want the streets to have him or her. This is what's going on. I need help. But they're not doing it because the kid is just like the mother and or father. Somebody has to step up to the plate.
When I became rebellious against my mom, remember I ran away. I remember I went to your house. You don't remember that part. And I asked Miss Mary, "Can I stay here?" She said, "No, you need to go back right where."
Oh, I remember. She said you need to go right back
back
where you
home.
came from, home. Yes.
Sent me right
You
home.
said, I'm running away and I want to know, can I stay here? And
Yeah.
what were you, 13?
14, and my mother called my dad, and then my dad he was in the Air Force, and last year in the military, and he came and got me, and I stayed in Texas for a couple of years, and I came back and went to live with my mom when they moved around on Germantown Avenue. But it's about someone has to someone has to be there. I was
Someone
lucky,
has to step up to the plate. You were blessed. You wasn't just
I was
lucky. You were
blessed.
blessed. These kids, I always go back to the Bible because I'm so spiritually minded because I just believe in that. When children are raised up correctly, and nobody's given a book on parenthood, you do the best you can. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's dying perfectly. But we can be good, we can be great. We can be better than what we were the day before. When kids are raised right, knowing the Lord, okay, they have something to turn back to if they should go astray. We had that. They're not having that now. So they're not going to have anything to turn back to. That's why they're dying so young. Incarceration is so high with juveniles. They don't know. That's all they know. You got a toddler's too, single mom. She has a 2-year-old. She has a 4-year-old. She has a 7-year-old. She has a 14-year-old. The 14-year-old it's like, and it's a girl. She's like a mother to these children. That's horrible. That should not happen.
And as my mother's, she used to say, you raise a child correctly on the way up, and they, when we become adults, they won't venture off too far. You have to instill those values in a person
You have
where
to
they're
instill
young,
them when they're that knee
or they're
high.
constantly playing catch up. And it's a big, we have a very we have a lot of devout people. I mean, this is a land of Christendom, but it's a big pushback from Christendom. A lot of people don't share those values, and I don't know if that's the reason why the violence has. Maybe that's just
Of
it's
course
a
it is.
contributing
It's
factor.
an attributing factor. There are a whole bunch of factors, but that is the number one attributing factor. That's for sure.
The values
That's
that
for certain.
Speaking of values, I was in Atlanta. I lived in Atlanta, and Atlanta is one of the first states to be a pro-life state. And some of these states, not only are they pro-life, that is, you can't get an abortion in their state. Now, I didn't have any children, so, but I was just wondering, do you have like a knee jerk just off the top of your head? How do you feel about some of these? What do you think is going to happen? They're actually trying to make it illegal to even go to another state and get an abortion. Like they're going to you know, put a guard gate. I know there's some
Wait a minute.
invisible gate that once you
So
find out you're pregnant and you go to another state, that is even going to be illegal. What do
you,
you think about that? Are they going to, I mean,
my thought on that. Lord
I mean,
have
I
mercy.
mean, heaven forbid that a person has to feel that,
If a
but
person
to
has to
sit
get an
there, but
abortion,
to imply that you have to go, as if you some type of border control between the states, to me that's a little suspect. Now your whole movement becomes suspect. It seems more like herding cows than it is any type of desire to Planned Parenthood. It just seems a way to
because it's not
oppress women. To me, why would you have to stop a woman
it's
at the
not
border? I
it's
mean,
not about Planned Parenthood. It's about so much
that was
more,
so
and
bizarre.
that is bizarre.
But that's
To
the rule.
think
They're thinking
there's
about
a
that. If they haven't
female
done it.
today who goes to the doctor. She has a tubal pregnancy. They're very dangerous. She has to get an abortion. She can't get it where she lives. So Aunt Bertha lives in another state. She goes there and they tell her, no, you can't get it here either. That's
I think that's a
awful.
bit much.
It is a bit much.
It's one thing to say, okay, you're a young woman, you come to my country. I mean, you come to my province, you come to my area, my space, and you have relations, you get pregnant, you're going to raise it. It's one thing to say that, but when you tell them, okay, not only that, it's a wired fence of barbed wire. You go across state lines,
that's
you ain't
not-
kill
that's-
you and anybody else with you.
I don't agree with that.
That
That's
to me has
not
turned
good.
into a police state. But I'm just being facetious, of course. But but what do you think? You think they're going to be? One lady, I was speaking to one lady. She said that she was definitely pro-life, and there's just no argument about it. But do you think people are going? You think it's going to work? What do you think?
I have no idea.
What do you think women going to? What do you think about the women's? Because the women's movement was so pro-life. Pro-choice, and then they lost. Kamala Harris couldn't. Well, I think that was one of the deciding factors of her election why she lost because she couldn't beat that pro-life boundary. Wall.
Well, I'm pro-life
it's
too,
going to make a
to a
significant?
degree. If a woman has to get an abortion because of medical reasons, she should not be denied. I'm sorry, she just shouldn't. There's no reason for it. But for a woman to use abortions as birth control, no,
Yeah.
that should not exist. Because
Yeah.
I know of such
Yeah,
with that too.
everybody knows of
Okay,
such.
come on, you got 3 abortions
I know, and we
last
still-
year. You got to take some birth control. You got to
do
do
something.
something
And
to,
they're making it
to
look
keep
bad.
you make it
The black,
exactly
the black
for
woman,
exactly.
we black women look terrible.
You make us look really bad.
look bad.
That is awful.
I saw this one show where this lady went, in this one area where it was a lot of drug and infestation, and she was just a regular person, and she would go like to the worst neighborhood and help these ladies, and they had these black ladies who had been pregnant 2 or 3 times and were using abortions like birth control. That was the first time they called it like a little guardian angel. But I think black women are really, I think we're really, it's kind of scary because we still get a real bad rap after all this. And Hillary Clinton really nailed it. She said, if AIDS had been a disease that was killing white women, then it would have been a totally different agenda. And I think, so
And
I
I
mean, we
think
think
that's kind of true.
we get the
I kind of agree with that.
we really got to get our act together in terms of, I don't know, lobbying, or I don't know.
But in order for us to do that, we got to get better at raising our children. That's my point. We have to do better with raising the children because they're future. They are the future. Like, come on. You can't tell me that we need to get better in all these areas. And when I go outside to go shopping or wherever I am, you got the mothers just screaming and cussing at the kids. You can't raise them like that. They have to get off the phone. They have to read some books. We can't grow if we don't know.
Right? They would
We
used
can't.
to, when I was younger, I guess the age of your children, your
We can't grow
grands.
fruitful. That's
They
what I
used
should
to
say.
they used to have things they would say about how um, the black man was becoming extinct because he was being killed. Now I feel like that as a black female, I feel like we're really getting some bad press, because I went to a midwife meeting with the when the Nation of Islam had one of those open things. You can sit in on it. I don't know if they sponsored it or but anyway, they met and it was talking about midwifery, and I was interested in what, and I learned there that the black woman, when she goes to have a child, is quite as easy as they make it sound. Like you just go and have the baby and everybody's healthy. It's really a delicate experience, and you could lose and we have more mortality than anybody else. As quiet as it kept.
My son was born by midwives.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, but she was saying that we black women had the highest mortality rate when at the time of birth, and
Yes.
in terms of
Well,
population, our population, for every child that's being born, one is dying. We're not producing for all the we're not producing. You know what I'm saying? And when we do produce, we're so. I mean, I don't know if somebody's just sitting around and deciding to head us off at every path, or we just fall into every trap for the unwary. But when it comes to birthing, we're most likely to die in the operating room. When it comes to the growth of our race, quote unquote, for everyone that's born, another one dies. When it comes to AIDS, we've had more AIDS, and then now it's so. I just asked this lady. I said, "Do you think we're on the ropes? What do you think? You think the black? Am I
well, I
sounding the alarm unnecessarily, or do you
no, no,
think
no. You're
you think the
sounding
black
no,
family is on the ropes, or are we business as usual?"
no. We do fall into the traps. That's why we have to continue to read. If I'm not mistaken, it was either I think it was Marcus Garvey who said, I think he said, everywhere you go, take a book. Whether you're in a doctor's office, just read. Just always read, because that's the key. Like we have to know, and you're not going to know if you're not reading. You have to read, and you got to believe science. Where is that? Where's science? When we were coming up in school, science was fact based. Now science is like they want to make it obsolete. Like you don't believe in none of that ever. What? Are you kidding me?
It's a pushback
Yes. And why?
because a lot of people can become successful without an education. It has been done,
Well, that's true.
but
That's
more,
true.
I don't know if it's just I don't know.
You don't need a college degree to get to where you want to be in life if you use the proper tools that God has given you. And that's your mind first, and just be smart with your monies, So it's, I don't know.
All right, one. So, Miss Miles, you were saying that you and Mr. Reed have a project you're working on.
Absolute. Yes, we work on many projects with the seniors. I told you we take them to the movies and any other, sometimes we like to honor them Mother's Day, Christmas, stuff like that. But we're going to be honoring the late, great Leon Sullivan this coming October 16th would be his 102nd birthday, I believe. He was a civil rights activist. He was a big activist in the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, in getting Girard College being able to get rid of the segregation part there where blacks now were allowed to go, where my son went some years back. And Progress Plaza, the first black market, supermarket area, well, shopping center, I want to say, where he had his hand in that. That's where the presentation and whatever Tyrone Reed, we're working on some things they're going to present to the people, but we're going to celebrate his life and legacy. So I just wanted to mention that it's happening October the 16th, Broad in Oxford, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.
So, and also, you're an author? Are you an aspiring author? Or
Well,
is it too early to speak?
no, I'm working on a book. We'll talk about that later.
Okay,
It's
okay.
titled.
I'm very interested.
I got to put that title out there. It's called "From Urban to Suburban: An Officer's Story." It's my story working in law enforcement from Philadelphia urban area to the Lehigh Valley suburbs.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, but you're right in the trenches, right
Yes.
in the trenches.
Yes.
And we thank you for your service,
You're very welcome.
and thank you for being with us today.
You're very welcome.